So the last thing we're going to look at in lesson 1 is how we find the length of an array, because while it's great that we can access the indices, sometimes knowing that length can really make a big difference in allowing us to then perform correct manipulations. We want to know how many items are in that array. So the length of an array is just the number of elements or items in an array. So it's just like a string, where the string was the number of characters in a string. And it uses actually the same function as a string. So a string uses the len function, so does an array. And what happens is the length function takes in an array value and it returns the number of items found in that array. So here, if we have length parentheses, we put our array name on the inside, we can actually find the length of our array. So I'm going to do that over here just so you can kind of see it in action. There we go. I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm going to comment this part and just move it down so we can remember what we did, but we're not going to be needing it this time around. Okay. So if I go up here and I do length and I do the array name, which is num array, this code will find the length of num array. But remember, this finds the length, and then with functions, it returns a value. So we need to actually save this value somewhere in memory. So I'm going to call it length of num array. And what's going to happen here is the length function is going to access this array, find how many items are in it, and return that value and save it in length num array. And then we'll print to the screen, this array has length num array printed there. And then we'll do items. Now if I run this says this array has 6 items, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it does. So even though the indices go from 0 to 6, we can see that the length function correctly finds the number of items in a string. So it finds the number of items in a string. Now, there are a couple of ways where this is useful. It depends what you're using the array for. I want to show you one example of how we can actually use this instead of what we did right here. So I'm going to copy this for loop up above. This is a great for loop, but what happens is it's not great if we don't know the length of the array. So here, what we're going to do instead is we know that the length here holds the number of items, and then here we want it to cycle through those items. So what we're going to replace 6 with is len num array, because that's really the length of our array. So here, this is where the length of our array, the value is saved. And what we're going to do is we're going to cycle through all of those. So this is going to cycle through values 0 to 1 less than the length of the array. And so now if we print this to the screen, it's going to work the same way it did before. But what we have is we have some flexibility. So say I wanted to add 2 values. Now I can, because length array, when I ran this, became 8. And then as a result, when it became 8, it ran from 0 to 7. I could also shrink it down. Say I only wanted those. This array has 3 items. You can see that. This array has 6. This array has a length of 8. This array has a length of 3, and it cycles 0 to 2. I could then add some back in. This array has a length of 4. But knowing the length is really great when maybe you don't know how many items are going to be in that array. And you still want to cycle through them by index. You want to access each index, but you can't put a number in here. You need some sort of variable. This was great, for example, when we did that program that wrote a word backwards. Say you had to write an array backwards. This would be helpful then, because you'd be able to access the length and then work with the length from there and be able to figure out, okay, how many items are in here, what indices am I using, etc., etc. But length is a really great function when you don't know how long an array is going to be when you try and access it via a for loop. So I'm going to be making a note of that in here. Length is great when we do not know the length of an array beforehand. So it's a really great time to have it. So Little notes on the length function. This was me just showing you different examples. I did that over here already, showing how it's great to use the length when we don't know how big the array is going to be. So the last thing I want to look at is being able to predict the output for the values below, because we do need to now be able to work with array indexing and print statements together. So for example, here it says print A3. What hopefully you're saying is, okay, I'm going to go to array A, and I'm going to print what's at index 3. So index 3 is 0, 1, 2, 3. So this will print carry to the screen. And then this next one will print A4. So we need to go to array A and then go to index 0, 1, 2, 3. This will produce an error. There is no index 4. This next one is going to print A2 is B4. So hopefully you're already making an educated guess of what this is going to be. A2 is array A index 0, 1, 2, which is Jim. Then I have the word is, and then B4 is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. Print length B plus length A. So we know that these are going to return numbers. The length of B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The length of A is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this turns into 7 plus 4. And because they're numbers, we'll actually produce 11, because it's going to add them together before it prints them to the screen if they are numerical values. Print B, this is going to print the entire array. So hopefully kind of already made that educated guess there of it's going to print the entire B array because I didn't specify the index that I wanted. So it will print that to the screen. Print A0 will print what's at index 0 in A. So it will print Sue. And then for K in A, print K. This will print on 4 different lines, and I'm running out of space here, but I can probably get it. It will print, go back one, Sue, Harry, Jim, Harry. So this will actually go through and print all of them. So it's saying 4K in A. So it will say, okay, look at each value in array A and print it to the screen. So it will print those 4. And then from here, this one's saying 4M in length. So this is using this code here. So the length of B is 7. So it will cycle through indices 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it will print each one to the screen. So it will print 5. And then on the next line, it would print 8. I guess I can go down there. So the next line, it will print 8. The next line, it will print 1, so on and so forth, all the way until it hits, we'll go down a couple more, until it hits 7. So that's what these are going to do, just being familiar with now how those print statements that you have are going to work with array indexing, printing an array in general, or printing an array using a for loop.